Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Creation Myths. Today, we are covering an extremely common and extremely wrong creationist claim. I'm going to give you the quick and easy way to deal with this whenever you encounter it. It's one you hear most frequently from Stephen Meyer at Discovery Institute, the Christian nationalist think tank that LARPs doing real science in the form of intelligent design. The claim goes like this: information always comes from an intelligent source. Meyer often says something like, whenever we find information, we find that it comes from a mind. And the point is that if we can identify information in biological systems, that means those systems were created rather than evolved. Yeah, that's wrong. It's wrong because we've directly observed that it's wrong. So we're going to just very briefly go through 3 peer-reviewed papers that directly refute this creationist talking point. The first study, and by the way, all of these are linked down below. I encourage you to look them up. This first one is Neem et al. 2017. Random sequences are an abundant source of bioactive RNAs or peptides. In this study, the authors expressed random sequences in E. coli and found that up to 25% of those random sequences, when expressed from a plasmid, increased the growth rate of the E. coli in which they were found. They then picked 3 of these beneficial sequences and found that 2 operated as RNA molecules and 1 actually had to be translated to a polypeptide in order to benefit the cells that expressed it. Those aren't the only 3 beneficial RNAs or polypeptides in the experiment. Those are just the 3 the authors honed in on. So we have a direct experimental example of random sequences generating new beneficial RNAs and at least 1 polypeptide. I'm sure those sequences contain information. Another relevant paper was published in 2018. This is Yona et al. Random sequences rapidly evolve into de novo promoters. The title summarizes this one pretty well. The authors replaced a gene's promoter with random sequences. Turns out a lot of those sequences could act as a promoter. And when you let those sequences mutate, some of them became really good promoters. A bunch were even better than the original. Again, that sounds like new information to me. And the last paper I'll show you is one from 2026, Johnny et al., a small polymerase ribozyme that can synthesize itself and its complementary strand. Again, the authors used random sequence polymerization, this time to generate a library of small RNA molecules and screened them for ribozyme activity. That's enzymatic activity in an RNA molecule. Specifically, they screened for self-replication, and they found it. They found a tiny RNA molecule, just 45 nucleotides, capable of self-replication. And again, I think that's new information. So that should be case closed. Here we have direct experimental refutation of the creationist claim. But when has that ever stopped creationists from making the claim in the first place? Never. The answer is never. So instead of a very clear and simple concession, right, creationists aren't just going to say, oh, I never heard of any of those papers. Turns out you're right. You don't need a mind to get information. Instead, you'll probably get something to the effect of, but who designed the experiments? Or, well, the information comes from the scientists who did the experiments. This couldn't happen in nature, something like that. When you get that argument in response, here are the 2 things you do. If the counter-argument you get is the kind of simpler, well, the scientists designed the experiments, duh, and that's where the information comes from, you say, okay, here's the paper, and you always have the paper ready to go. You say, here's the paper, show me in the methods where the authors dictated the sequences that were found in the experiment. Point to where they did it specifically. The creationists won't be able to do that because the authors didn't do it. They didn't dictate the sequences at any point in the experiment. You can also drop a, have you read this paper in there? Because there's a decent chance the answer is no. And if that's the case, take a second to drag them on that. You're going to tell me that this paper is somehow wrong or misleading or maybe even fraudulent? And you haven't even read it? Come on. right? So that always makes them look bad in front of their audience. And then, if the creationist goes a bit further in this response, they might include something like, this couldn't happen in nature, right? And now you get to point out that they're changing the argument, because the argument was information only comes from intelligence. And now it's biochemical processes couldn't happen in nature that would generate this information. They may end up even jumping all the way to abiogenesis, just go full origins or bust. Now, those are two different arguments, right? The first argument, information always comes from an intelligent source, that's about the source of the information. The second argument, this couldn't happen in nature, is about the conditions under which the information could arise. So if they go that route, thank them for conceding the original argument and make sure you point out for your audience exactly what they did. You can really rub it in. Spell it out for the audience. Make sure they get it. And that's it. This particular creationist argument is easy to deal with because there are literally published experiments that directly disprove it. Thanks for watching. Please remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, share this video, and as always, don't get fooled.